place where we go and help us to be wise in times when we don't know. Let this be our prayer when we lose our way. Lead us to a place, guide us with your grace, to a place where we'll be safe.
La luce che tu dai
I pray we'll find your light
nel cuore resterà,
and hold it in our heart.
a ricordarci che
When stars go out each night,
l'eterna stella sei nella mia preghiera.
let this be our prayer.
Quanta fede
When
c'è,
shadows fill our day,
lead us to a place,
guide us with your grace. Give us faith so we'll be safe.
sogniamo un mondo senza più violenza, un mondo di giustizia e di speranza. Ognuno dia la mano al suo vicino, simbolo di pace, di fraternità. La forza che ci dà
We ask that life be
è il
kind
desiderio che
and watch us from above.
ognuno trovi amore
We hope it's all we'll find.
intorno e dentro sé.
Another soul to love. Let this be our prayer. Let this be our prayer.
Just like every child,
Just like every child, need to find a place. Guide us with your grace. Give us faith so we'll be safe.
e la fede che hai acceso in noi, sento che ci
A rose once grew where all could see, sheltered beside a garden wall. And as the days passed swiftly by, it spread its branches straight and tall. One day a beam of light shone through a crevice that had opened wide. The rose bent gently toward its warmth and then passed beyond to the other side. Now, you who deeply feel its loss, be comforted, because the rose blooms there. Its beauty even greater now, nurtured by God's own loving care. Friends and family, I take this opportunity to officially welcome you here My name is Godwin, and it's my honor to walk this part of the journey with you. And although a short part, it's one of the most important parts for a family to come and to see you here, to support them and to hold them up and to show them your love for their beloved. Our time in this seated setting will be probably about 60 minutes, give or take, 10 or 15. We have various tributes and pictures to view and memories to share and tears to share and laughter to share, and we're going to do all of those things. And I want you to know that it's okay to do those things. To begin, to stay in tune with her beliefs, the way she was raised, and her faith. I'm going to invite you, if you can recall, and if you're uncomfortable with that, I support that too, but we want to just recite the Lord's Prayer together. No need to stand. We can just reverently do that in our seat. So if you could join me as it reads, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Heavy hearts. And understandably, we never get to determine when this day comes for us. And a lot of times we're left in shock. And of course, the pain and the sadness and sometimes even anger. They call these things the stages or the stages of grief, and they don't ever really happen in stages. It comes and goes. Broken hearts, aching hearts. And it's kind of why we're here. But we're also here to show our appreciation, to show our gratitude, to share and to let one another know that, yes, we are sad, but we're going to honor the life. We're going to honor the time we had, and we could wish for more. But right now we're tasked with just remembering and being grateful for the time we had. And a beautiful time it was, as we're going to learn here today from the various words that are shared. Quite often I get the opportunity to get up here and speak and read and write eulogies, and that's wonderful and all, but very rarely does a whole family come up to speak. And that's what's going to happen here today. And it was so beautiful. I'm accustomed to taking the words and delivering them, but now I get to hear them specifically from their hearts. And it comes with so much beauty. So thank you on behalf of them for being here to hear their words and how they share their love for a mom, and for a wife, a soulmate. And through those words and through those tributes shared today, you will hear and learn, if you don't know already, about the compassion this woman had. The passion she had, the passion for life. We'll speak of her selflessness and her generosity, her kindness, her zest, her beauty, both inside and out, her authenticity. We're going to hear about all of that through the stories and the memories that her children share and her beloved soulmates share. We'll probably hear about her love of food, her love of cooking and feeding people. How many here have heard her say, mange, mange? She could just whip it up, an entire feast, all by herself. Some probably would offer her help, but He'd probably do something wrong, so she preferred to do it on her own. But she could. Whether it was camping or whether it was Christmas dinners, you could rely on Mom to take care of it. It was shared in these words that she was a whirlwind and a dynamo in the kitchen. She was simply just a warm and welcoming and fun-loving woman. You know, her spirit was pure and her aura was magnetic. We will honor all of these things here today. And in doing so, we'll create an everlasting memory of this day. Because memories are the gifts that are left for us, so we want to create many today. And although she had many loves, many things she was passionate about, many interests, there are two things, you know, as the messages came to me, there were two things that in her life that she loved the most, really. And in no particular order, but Italy is a big one. She loved her homeland, her ancestors, the lineage. She loved to visit, and she was one with that country. And family. A husband loved her husband and loved her children more than anything, and thoroughly enjoyed every moment she had with them. You know, as I looked at some of the pictures on the front table, and you guys are all kind of arms around one another, and you can just feel the love and the tight-knittedness, if that's a word. And folks, this service is about her. It is about this amazing woman, Rosemary Ann Campbell. But it's for you. Imagine if we did nothing and didn't come together to open our hearts to one another or give each other a hug. And in what we've been through, I'm grateful that you have this opportunity here today to do this. So as I said, as much as it is about her, it is for her beloved husband. 48 years. Cherished children, Mark, Teresa, and Will. It is for her sisters, Marissa, and we think of Claudio, Annette, and sister-in-law Jane, and partner Dave. I was born June 7th, so I like that there's a 7 in here because I don't want to leave out the pet dog 7. Family, a 4-legged family member. As we know, she, of course, is predeceased by her parents, but she often reflected on the memories. And if any of you have read the book, it's really about Mama. You know, she would tell stories, Rose would tell stories about showing up to grade school with the largest lunch, the biggest lunch than any of the other kids, you know, in a paper bag. And the paper bag was about to break because it was just soaked with olive oil from some tasty creation. It was shared that, you know, if there's any football fans, you understand the importance of a quarterback. The game just doesn't function without it. She was like a quarterback. You know, she did it all. It was like there wasn't anything she couldn't do. Driving people everywhere or turning on the family events and turning it up for those family events. She just had a way of making everyone feel special. When you were in her presence, it's like you were the most important person. These things we will miss, and we will cherish them forever. And yes, we are here because someone has died, but we're here more because she lived. And lived well. So today we honor the life of Rosemary Ann Campbell. Our first speaker was born Monday, August 6th of 1979 at 2:15 p.m. and weighed in at a whopping 8 pounds, 2.5 ounces. I asked our first speaker, so, when I ask you, like, what do you think you got from mom? Like, if someone compliments you on something and you say, oh, I got that from mom, what is it? His response was, my nice tan. I get my Italian skin from her. Goes on to say, I also get my compassion for the less fortunate, especially children. My love of sunsets. He says he gets that from mom, and his sense of humor. So our first speaker, if you could help me welcome, and I hope you don't find it irreverent, folks. I think that we don't have to applaud now, but when people are finished speaking, it's nice to give them a bit of encouragement and say thank you for sharing your sentiment, because it's tough to get up here and speak from the heart, especially when the woman that created you is right beside you. So we open up our hearts to you, Will, as you come to share. Thanks so much.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here to celebrate the life of my beloved mother, Rosemary, the heart and soul of our family. As you can imagine, the past 2 weeks have been the hardest of my life, and I've gone through the full gamut of emotions, as we all have. From utter shock and disbelief to overwhelming grief and sorrow from the sudden loss of my beautiful mom. But over the past few days, a new emotion has emerged. One of pure gratitude. Gratitude for being blessed with having the most amazing mother and friend one could ever hope for. She was incredible in so many ways, and I feel truly lucky to have had her in my life. Today, I would like to share some of this gratitude with you all. Firstly, acknowledging her passion for writing, I will read the preface of her book, Days of Wine and Rosa, a memoir of growing up Italian in Canada. It is a beautifully written book recounting her childhood and adolescence with vivid stories and imagery, amazing Italian recipes, and harrowing immigration and war stories told by her Italian relatives. This book is one of her proudest accomplishments, and it is my honor to read from it in my mom's own words. I started writing at the age of 9 for no other reason than I was compelled to do so. I had this naive notion that just because I liked to write, that made me a good writer. You could say I was almost obsessed with the idea of writing and documenting. My passion for writing was fueled by a love for books and reading and my father's enthusiastic belief in me, and I dreamt of becoming a journalist or an author. However, other than writing diary entries, personal stories, and school essays, I did not pursue this creative outlet until much later in life. Literature was my favorite subject in high school, and it was also my best subject. I achieved very good grades in English. As a teen, I always had my nose buried in a book. My idea of a perfect Saturday was the delivery of the Toronto Star weekend newspaper, which I would devour from cover to cover. Then I would ride my rusty 10-speed to the local library on Dufferin Street, Toronto, checking out as many books as my bike basket could carry. Unlike other teens, I lived at the local library in the summer and escaped to faraway places and times through my reading. The idea of putting together a book evolved from my love of reading, and I suppose I have always glamorized the author. Sitting at a desk, pecking away at typewriter keys was my idea of glamour and glory. After watching every movie that involved a writer, I fantasized about being that person. A long and slow process has led me to the realization of this fantasy. Once I knew I wanted to write a book, the next question was, about what? I had no idea whatsoever. And then one day I remember reading, "Write what you know best." In the attic, I found a box of yellow typewritten pages and handwritten diaries from my teens and started to revisit them, writing chapters from those days. Being the eldest of the clan, I also felt a personal obligation to recount my parents' immigration and war tales. These stories have been woven into the fabric of our lives from an early age. Incredible stories of heroism, resilience, and courage during the Second World War in Italy. If I did not document them, they would be lost and silenced forever. I felt it my duty to record this living legacy for future generations. Again, I did not know where this sense of purpose came from, but my passion was the driving force behind it. As an adult, I began to document the war stories of the older generation, direct from the people who had lived them. This entailed a few trips to Italy and Toronto to interview my aunts and uncles and tape record their stories. I then translated their tales from the spoken Italian to written English. The third part of my book is the recipes. These were so integral to the stories of growing up that it seemed natural, even crucial, to include them. And they themselves are a kind of legacy. Getting the recipes down on paper proved to be a great source of joy and pride for me and all my relatives involved in the cooking, eating, and writing. Finally, I was ready to complete this labor of amore, but then the unexpected happened and I was fighting for my life. Through this valuable and life-altering experience, I learned that despite the obstacles life presents us with, it is important to hold on to one's passion. I came back from my grave illness with a deep desire to complete what I had started all those years before. Easier said than done, but once again, that passion behind the writing led me down the right path. This book then is the realization of both a childhood dream and an adult vision. My passion has been stoked by this trial by fire. And I now realize more than ever that for me, the greatest joy is the joy of writing. I hope you enjoy reading this book as much as I enjoyed writing it. So that was written, completed around 2012, I believe? Yeah. I think the only joy that surpassed my mom's joy of writing was the joy she felt being surrounded by family, seeing us all well-fed, happy, and loving each other as she loved all of us. Now I would like to share the overwhelming gratitude I feel for my mom by reading a thank you letter I wrote to her. Dear Mom, thank you for putting me in swimming lessons when I was a kid. I use them regularly as an adult, and I haven't drowned yet. Thank you for always making excuses for me when I was late every day in high school because I couldn't drag my butt out of bed on time, although it didn't take long for the principal and teachers to catch on that you were covering for me. When I had a friend over to the house, thank you for always allowing them to stay for dinner, saying, sure, there's plenty of food, although oftentimes it meant you didn't eat dinner that night. Thank you for making countless trips and spending countless hours in the British consulate to secure my British passport so I would be a European citizen and my first big trip abroad in Europe would be much easier and enjoyable. Thank you for doing the same at the Korean consulate years later to secure my working visa so I could spend another year in South Korea, even though you would have rather had me stay close to you in Canada. Thank you for teaching me that when invited over to someone's home for dinner or a social gathering, to never show up empty-handed. And if hosting a dinner or social gathering, that it's always better to prepare too much food than risk not preparing enough. Thank you for teaching me to hold my cutlery properly, chew my food with my mouth closed, and to always put the toilet seat down. Thank you for spoiling me with the best home-cooked meals, mostly Italian, my whole life, which I never truly appreciated until I was living on my own. You always took such good care of my dad, brother, sister, and I. I don't think we understood or fully appreciated just how much you did for us when we were growing up. Now as adults, we can see that you are the definition of a supermom. Thank you for teaching me to live life to the fullest and to pursue my passions with purpose and resilience, just as you did. Thank you for showing me the meaning of selflessness, to put others before yourself with the sole purpose of seeing them happy. I will always try to carry on your legacy of love and care for others, especially family, and I promise to do my best to love our family the way you always did. Thank you for teaching me the importance of staying connected to relatives near and far, and for showing me that family is the most important thing in life. I will strive to follow in your footsteps. Finally, thank you for always making me feel loved every day through your actions and your words. I feel truly blessed, and I am forever grateful to you for all that you did. all the lessons you taught, and most importantly, for showing me the true meaning of unconditional love. I will miss you more than words can express. And I still can't believe that you're gone. But I know you're at peace in a better place and reunited with your parents, Clara and Tony, as well as other family and friends that have passed. I dream of seeing you there one day with that big, beautiful smile and holding you in a warm embrace, telling you how much you mean to me, how grateful I am that you're my mom, and how much I love you forever and always. Ti amo, Mama. Your son, Will.
Thank you so much, Will. So moving. I'm grateful that she taught you all those things and you'll carry them with you from this day forward. And I loved when I asked Will, what is it about Mom that you'll miss the most? And he said her heart. And how he ended his tribute with that unconditional love. That's what he'll miss. And then he said something about the warmest Christmases ever, but growing up in Toronto, I don't know. It's, here. Regardless of the weather, it was always warm in her presence. Also described Mom as stylish and hip and savvy and cool. You guys all agree? Yeah. There was a tribute that came in from Simone from Italy. It says, hi, Mark and family. Sincere condolences from my entire family. This is from Simone. It says, we are very saddened by the loss of your dear mother. My cousin Rosemary was a delightful and full of life person. We always remember with pleasure the good times spent with her here in Italy. It was bad news for us, and we still can't believe what happened. But Rose will always live with us. It always lives with us, she says. So a big hug to each of you, to Alan and to Teresa and Will and Mark. Courage with prayer hands. So we want to thank Simone for that message. And since this is being filmed, I trust that family and friends abroad will see this, and we just want to, of course, acknowledge you as well. That we know you're here with us in mind and heart. So thank you so much. Our thoughts are with you. Our next speaker was also born on a Monday, April 4th, actually, of 1977. About 4:32 p.m., weighed in at a whopping 6 pounds, 11 ounces. Apparently this is 3 days before the Toronto Blue Jays played their first game. So I think there's a joke that talks about, our next speaker, Teresa, being older than the Blue Jays, but we'll invite her forward to come and speak at this time.
Thank you, Will. I love you. That was beautiful. So I'm Teresa, and I've been embracing in the last few years that is my name, Teresa, not Teresa, but Teresa. And my mama always called me that, so you can feel free to change that now. To Mama, I was also Pumpkin, and therefore I had to think of a similar nickname for her, so she became Jack-o'-lantern. I was also the bee, so I was a little busy bee, and Lupa, which means wolf, and most often Cativa, which means naughty. So that was my most common nickname for Mama. When I was little, likely when I was starting to speak, I couldn't pronounce I love you. So I would say, Lalu, Lalu, Mama, Lalu. And we continued saying that our entire lives to each other. And that was in one of the last messages we shared together, Lalu. And if we ever were butting heads about something, she would soften the experience by saying, Lalu. Bella Mamma Rosa, ti vogliamo bene, ci mancara. Celebriamo la tua vita, che tu possa riposare in pace e potere. Ti vogliamo bene. And the translation is, beautiful Mama Rosa, we love you, we miss you, We celebrate your life and give you our blessings. May you rest in peace and power. We love you. Rosemary, Rosa, Rose. And to me, as I mentioned, Jack-o'-lantern. When I walked with her in her cancer journey, there was one day I was bathing her. She was bald. She lost all her hair. And she said, "Hey, the roles are reversed. You're the mama now." And I said, "Yeah, my big baby head." And even then, she had a sense of humor, so that became one of her nicknames then. The big baby head. She was a mother, matriarch, creator, prolific writer, truth speaker. She was a mother to us and to so many. Many of my beautiful friends in the queer and trans community have been abandoned by their parents, by their mothers. And she said, "You're my son or my daughter now." She was effortlessly charming, fiercely loving of her family and anyone else who she chose to shine her light and love on. She was wildly passionate about family, traveling, foreign films, and even spiritual paths. So courageous and resilient, so fiery, sassy, bratty. I'm carrying that forward for her. Sovereign, independent, traveling on her own, going to concerts on her own, being like, "What, you don't want to come? Fuck it, I'm going on my own then. I want to go." She was generous in more ways than you can imagine. Her love languages were many. If you were ever blessed to receive them, you were forever changed. The love and ritual she poured into her food and her meals, her writing, her acts of care, little love notes in our lunches as kids that continued on as adults. Her playfulness, her humor, again, her sass. I was not the typical Italian daughter that she envisioned. I didn't want to be in the kitchen. I didn't want to be doting on people, especially the boys. And I even remember watching her do that, hands on hips, little, I don't know what age. Let them do it them own selves. So I think she struggled at times that I wasn't this typical Italian daughter, but she still loved me fiercely. She would dress me in hockey gear at age 5, going to play in an all-boys hockey league, probably with tears in her eyes, being like, "How the hell did this happen?" She would come out to all my sports, games, being a super jock, maybe not understanding the sport, but understanding that she loved me and wanted to cheer me on. She went from thinking and saying that many of my spiritual paths, she's like, "Are you in a cult?" And like, "What are you doing?" But then guess what? She had a hard time in her life, turned to some of these paths and became my most avid participant, student, wanted to come to all my classes, all my retreats, was the keener, but also the troublemaker. I would catch her in the back of the class chewing gum. I would give her eyes. Everyone's there meditating. Their eyes are closed. My eyes are open, like bulging out. "What are you doing?" And she keeps chewing and being like, "What?" And she loved being the center of attention in these classes. And, sometimes when I would start with an opening question for the class or the workshop, I would tense up and be like, "What is she going to say?" Because she would often throw me under the bus for a laugh, and everyone loved it. And people are like, "Teresa, I love your classes, I love your offerings, but I really love watching you and your mom." And what happens there? It's fiery. Roles, were reversed often in these classes, but she just, she would show up so fully and everyone fell in love with her everywhere she went. I have an Italian prayer. This is a prayer of blessing and protection. I always grieved not being fluent in Italian, but in the last few years I've just said, okay, it's not too late. And every time I speak it, practice it, it feels like home. Mom was especially proud when I posted this prayer, and she sent it to Nona. Nona heard it. So for my Italian friends here, forgive me if I make a mistake. This is an Italian prayer, as I mentioned, for blessings and protection. It's about going up a mountain and collecting herbs. It's about ascension. Andiamocene alla montagna. C'è Maria che c'è in campagna. C'è in campagna stamattina. Per raccogliere la rugiada è una spugna. benediteci i pensieri, la rugiada e nella menta, benediteci i sentimenti, la rugiada e nella viole, benediteci la parole, la rugiada e nelle mele, benediteci la persona, la rugiada e nel timo, benediteci belle madre, benediteci belle mamma rosa, benediteci Madre Santa. One of my favorite things in the world with Mom was to sing. And back in the day when I attended church as a child, we would hold hands and we would sing our hearts out. And then after having this non-typical daughter that she thought she would have, she, opened herself to my offerings and my work, and we ended up singing in the last few years a lot together. And I loved it. So this is a song I'd like to share today. Ay, 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 madrecita. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 madrecita. Ay, 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 ay. Que me broten alas, que me abran los ojos. Quiero estar despierta cuando llegue Dios. Que me abran los ojos, que me broten alas. Quiero estar despierta cuando llegue Dios, cuando llegue Dios. Ay, 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 madrecita. Ay, 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 ay. And I want to leave you with this because Mom lived out loud, passionate. Grief expressed out loud, whether in or out of character, unchoreographed, feral, and honest, for someone we love is in itself the greatest praise we could ever give them. The greatest praise we could ever give her. So grief is praise because it's the natural way that love honors what it misses. So let yourself grieve and know that you are praising her, and let yourself live with fire and passion as she did. I know I will. Lalu Mama.
Thank you so much, Teresa. It's beautiful how one child ends his share with, the words unconditional love, and then you come up here and speak to us about that. And, you can see that that's how you live, and that's her living through you. And that's beautiful. It's often said that once we lose those we love, we can actually look into the eyes of children and listen to their voices, and you'll still see and hear the person that we are missing. So thank you for that beautiful tribute. I found a tribute that came online here. It said, "My deepest condolences on your loss. Rosemary and I were flower girls in our cousin Marianne's wedding in 1960. We never reconnected until a few years ago when I received her Days of Wine and Rosa book, which is an amazing piece of work. Though Rosemary and I come from different branches of the Renzetti tree, our ancestors were living geographically very close to each other in Pescara, is that the correct pronunciation? And in Toronto as one big family. I believe that's from Patty Ann, who was a granddaughter of Anna Renzetti Contini. So we wanted to acknowledge that tribute and thank you for sending that in. Our final speaker was also born on a Monday. This is getting a little much here. 3 kids, all born on Monday. He was born 3 days. I was born June 7th, so June 10th, fellow Gemini, 1974 at 12:57 a.m. He's 8 pounds, 2.5 ounces. When I asked Mark to share a few memories, there was lots, but one that really stood out for him was how Mom loved the song How Bizarre by OMC. I guess they decided to buy her the CD for Christmas, and She would dance around the Christmas tree doing this, as it says here, this ridiculous hopping dance, which was a combination of 1960s moves and Justin Bieber type dancing. Probably a sight to behold. But, it's a memory, and it's something we can reflect on and smile about and laugh about. And then there'll be memories where we reflect on and we cry, and it's all part of this emotional roller coaster. And as sad as it may be, it's kind of beautiful. It's kind of beautiful. In fact, when I asked Mark to sum Mum up into one word, he couldn't. He just said beautiful all around. And that's how he'll forever remember his beloved Mum. So, Mark, if you'd come forward and share your words.
Well, good morning. Thank you for all coming today. It means so much to me and the family to have you here. And I'll put you at ease. I will not be singing, because no one needs to hear that. I remember a documentary about the boxer Muhammad Ali, and the narrator described the concept of genius. When most people hear the word genius, they think of academics or thinkers like Einstein or Da Vinci. But genius takes many shapes and forms. Muhammad Ali was a genius in athletics, boxing. And along that same vein, my mother was a genius in love. My mom's unconditional love My mom's unconditional love was readily apparent, as anyone who met her can attest to her gift of making them feel special and cared for. I can remember early on in my life such an outpouring of love and support from my mom. I have fond memories of growing up in Toronto with all of us at Nona and Nono's house, full of joy and, of course, loads of Italian food. I will always remember her relentless efforts in the kitchen, making sure the familia was always well fed. She truly was the backbone of the household, attending to her children's every need. Once we moved to North Vancouver, she would pile us into the old wood-paneled station wagon and drive us to school. Those were chaotic mornings, with us getting into our uniforms, ensuring we had our lunches and homework. There was so much fun and love in the air. Often, I would be the envy of all my schoolmates, as Mama Rosa would make me peanut butter and Nutella sandwiches. The other kids were astounded that my mother essentially provided me with chocolate lunches. During the early years of high school, I was struggling a bit, and it was not uncommon to find special notes in my lunch in which she expressed her love and support for me. I saved all those notes, and I cherished them. Unbeknownst to my dad and his checking account, my mom would spoil me as she knew I liked brand name clothing, such as a special ski jacket she got me once, or the original Nintendo system for Christmas. My mom was always there for me, even when I messed up or would come home at 3 a.m. with the night out with the boys. She welcomed me with open arms and was so easy to forgive and accept. We loved watching movies together and chatting about acting and writing. We both shared a passion for Halloween and enjoyed scary movies and dressing up to greet trick-or-treaters, her as a witch and me as a monster. During our movie time together, we would crush multiple bowls of popcorn. I remember going to the theater for the first Harry Potter movie, and we bought the special refillable bucket. I went back 3 times to fill it up. We also shared an affinity for spirituality, prayer, and nature. We loved our walks in the woods and cruising Grand Boulevard with the dogs. The last time I saw my mother, we embraced each other. And I said I love you in English and ti amo in Italian. I love you so much, Mama, and wish you light, love, and peace. A special prayer for all of us here today. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I'll end with a quote from an unknown writer. Excuse me. A mother is your first friend, your best friend, your forever friend. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Mark. You know, I'm like Mark. I've never really considered myself to be a good singer, you know. But every now and again, you know, while in the shower, there are two songs where if I hit the notes, it's not too bad. I can bellow it out pretty good. One of them is Ebony and Ivory, and the other is When a Man Loves a Woman. I know there's a few of you that have tried that one. You know, but since I'm not in the shower, I won't sing because it's only when I'm in the shower. But there's a verse that came to mind as I spoke with Alan, and as I got to get a better understanding of the love that was shared in 48 plus years. It says, when a man loves a woman, can't keep his mind on nothing else, he'd trade the world for the good thing he has found. If she is bad, he can't see it, she can do no wrong. Turn his back on his best friend if he puts her down. This is a man that stood by and stayed true to his vows through good times and bad, through sickness and through health. And again, as we can hear the theme in everything, it is the foundation is unconditional love. So if you could come and share what that meant for you at this time, it would be appreciated. Thanks so much.
You know, I was doing okay, and then you had to go and say that and start me crying again. I can get my glasses out of here. Yeah, I'm going to go off script just a little bit because listening to you, Will, Teresa, Mark, I'll share with you all. Just a few weeks ago, Mom and I were talking about the next big family gathering, and we were starting to get a little tired of hosting all these family gatherings, and we were saying, it's about time these kids stepped up and hosted something instead of Mom having to do everything. And I sent out there was a few WhatsApps going back and forth, and so in one WhatsApp I was kind of giving them heck over this, and I added a quote in a whimsical kind of way. Was my intention. But that quote is, "From failing hands we pass the torch, be yours to hold it high." In other words, organize this next family gathering. But I want to say now, we passed the torch, and you three have picked it up and held it so high today. Okay, I need to start reading now. I'm not sure what I have to add to what's been said. All the words that, I'm going to say, like passion, fiery, you're going to hear them again. But, we've heard the perspective of Rosemary as mother. So now I want to tell you about Rosemary as girlfriend, lover, wife. We're going to go back here to the 1960s when I was in high school. And my high school was in a very English suburb in Toronto. I was a very shy, introverted little guy. lacking in self-confidence, especially around girls. I would look longingly at the prettiest girls and think, they're out of my league. I had a very simple vision for my life, even at that young age. I wanted to marry a pretty girl who loves me, have children, and be a good provider for my family. That's it. That's all I wanted, and that never changed. Fast forward 4 years, I had come back to my parents' house after traveling the world for 6 months. A buddy of mine was living in a co-op house in downtown Toronto. Co-op housing was very popular in those days. One person would rent a huge, grand old house in Toronto and then rent out individual bedrooms. So my buddy was moving out at the end. He was moving out and wondering if I wanted to take over his room. He said, come over to meet some of the people. I saw her standing there. Just like the Beatles song, I was transfixed. She was actually sitting on a bench in the front yard under a big tree, strumming a guitar. Long black hair, tight blue jeans with bell bottoms. She was the most beautiful vision I had ever seen. I asked my friend, who's that? He said, her name is Rosemary, but forget about her, she's way out of your league. And I thought, yeah, she is. And then I heard that she's Italian. I had never seen any girl that looked like her. She looked so exotic, far more beautiful than those English girls from my high school. At that time, my car was a little red Volkswagen Beetle. And the thought crossed my mind, she's a Ferrari. A red Ferrari, yes. I moved in, got along well with everyone, and Rosemary was not full of herself as I imagined she might be. She was warm and friendly with everybody. Now, different groups of the 7 or 8 who lived there would go to the local beer hall, and believe it or not, that's where I got to know her better. Somebody in the house would say, I'm going for a beer, who's coming? And usually a group of 3, 4, 5, or 6 would go, and I would just keep an eye out. Is Rosemary going? Because if she is, I'm going. And as I got to know her better, I could sense that maybe she didn't have any long-haired, blonde, blue-eyed English boys in her high school in the heart of Toronto's Little Italy. We began to exchange more looks, smiles, shared sense of humor. So at least I could make her laugh. And then something amazing happened. I actually summoned up the courage to ask her to go away for the weekend. She asked, who's going? I think I was shaking when I answered, you and me. She said, okay, where are we going? I almost fainted because she'd said, okay. I said, well, I rented a little cottage on a lake and a small boat. And she said, sounds great. It was July 1973. I was 22 years old. Rosemary was 20. It was the greatest weekend of my life. And this next part is going to sound crazy to you. By the end of the day, Sunday, we had fallen head over heels in love, asked each other, like simultaneously, do you want to move in together? Yes. Do you want to get married? Yes. And do you want to have a baby? Yes. It was it. That was it. True. Every word of that is true. I know it's crazy. People said you can't make commitments like that in one weekend. This is a recipe for disaster. Well, just last month, we celebrated the 48th anniversary of that weekend. It's kind of a little secret. I don't think the kids even know, but because we didn't get married for like a few months later, and so our official anniversary was February 21st, 1974. But the Sunday in 1973 was July 21st, and Mom and I just kept this little secret between the two of us, and every July 21st we would celebrate, or at least acknowledge, and we felt that was our true anniversary. At that time, Rosemary worked in a big department store, Eaton's on Yonge Street in downtown Toronto. I can vividly remember the sense of anticipation and excitement I felt all day long when I knew I was going to meet her at the end of her shift. I would walk into her department, women's clothes, of course, eagerly looking for her. Then my heart would practically explode with joy when I saw her walking towards me. A big, beautiful smile of unconditional love on her face. And we would embrace like we never wanted to let go. We moved in together, got married, and Mark was born. Our love got even stronger. Teresa was born, and stronger still, Will was born. We had everything we ever wanted, each other, 3 beautiful children, and I worked hard to be a good provider for my family. I suddenly had everything I wanted in life at age 22. I felt like the luckiest man in the world. One of the greatest things we had in common was love of travel. Always just the two of us. But when the kids were young, our travel consisted of going to the KOA campground in Lyndon, Washington, and our annual summer road trip to Seattle to see our hometown Blue Jays. Wonderful summer memories. When the kids flew the coop, we got back to just the two of us traveling. We loved exploring new places and different cultures. We avoided Western-style restaurants, always choosing to experience local cuisine and culture. And we loved to meet the children everywhere we went in the world. We had wonderful holidays, to name a few: Hong Kong, Bali, Indonesia, the Cayman Islands 4 times, thanks to Mark living there. An incredible trip all around Italy for 5 glorious weeks. A 10-day vacation in South Korea, thanks to Will living there. It turned into a 22-day vacation. We loved it so much we pushed back our return flight another 12 days. Whenever we traveled, we became 2 teenagers in love again, just like that magical weekend in 1973. Our last major trip was to New Orleans for Mardi Gras just a few years ago. Even though we were now in our 60s, we became 2 star-crossed lovers again, having a blast at Mardi Gras parades and running all around the French Quarter and Bourbon Street. If I had to come up with one word to capture the essence of Rosemary, that word is passion. I think that's been a common theme today. Passion for life. She believed the purpose of life was simply to have as much fun as possible every day that you are blessed to be on this earth. Passion for love, limitless capacity for love. Love for me, our kids, our family, including her large extended family in Toronto and Pescara, Italy. I met them all on our big Italian trip, and I loved them all. Passion for anger. I loved how fiery she was. She would get like an overheated Ferrari when she would beat me into submission in an argument. I never won a single argument. Once, I got a plate of spaghetti thrown in my face.
There's worse things.
Yeah. The spaghetti hit my face. Thankfully, the plate did not. But behind that spaghetti, I was smiling. because I loved her for it. I loved her passion. Passion for writing, as beautifully portrayed by Will. Passion for cooking, which we've heard about from several of you. I just want to say her cooking alone qualifies me to be considered as luckiest man in the world. Passion for photography. On our 5-week trip around Italy, she took 3,000 photos. That's not an exaggeration. That's an exact number. I will look at and treasure every one of them forever. Passion for children. All over her own children, obviously, but children all over the world. Her Italian family wanted to know what charity they could make a donation to in her name. We told them, feed the children. And that goes for anybody here that's thinking of sending any more flowers. Don't. There was nothing that would make me happier than get a little card in the mail that said somebody made a donation to feed the children in Rosemary's name. When I go, you will only need one word to capture the essence of my life. And that word is Rosemary. If Rosemary could speak to you now, she would say, live every day with passion. Love everyone you hold dear with passion. Keep on traveling around this beautiful planet. Have fun every day. Here comes the sun.
Beautiful. Wow. Well, before we get into our next piece here, I must say I've been doing this MC stuff here since 2005. Hundreds and hundreds of families, and that was by far the most remarkable and beautiful story of how you met your wife, man. Thank you. That was powerful. Wow. You know, I love how you mentioned the 3,000 photos. You know, in my family, I'm that guy. I've got boxes of pictures. You know, I'm a father of 4, so I've got a pretty big family, and I'm that picture guy, and I can appreciate the value of having those memories. You know, and I've met with people who have them on their phone, and then they're struggling. How do I get these off the phone? And pictures just say so much, and the memories that are in there. So I know for every picture, as you mentioned, whatever it might be, you'll think back to that exact moment and just seeing her with the phone, and it's beautiful. So we're about to experience some of those memories and some of those photos, and let's take a moment to embrace that as we watch this video tribute that's been created. Yeah, I can slide this.
When the world seems to shine like you had too much wine, that's amore. Bells will ring, ting-a-ling-a-ling, ting-a-ling-a-ling, and you'll sing Vita Bella. Hearts will play tippy-tippy-tay, like a gay tarantella. What You know I can't let you slide through my hands.
Last night I dreamt of something else. Just like I never thought I knew some young girl with eyes like Professor. It all seems like yesterday, now gone away. Tropical islands, all of it the wild away. This is where I love to be, La Isla Bonita. The sun was set so high, and through my ears and see my eyes, your Spanish lullaby. I fell in love with some angel. Warm wind carried on the city company. Taking home the day home. I prayed that the days would last, they went so fast. Tropical island breeze, all of nature wild away. This is where I long to be, La Isla Bonita. And when the sun was late, the sun was set so high, and through my ears would scream my the Spanish lullaby.
Guarda fuori già mattina, questo è un giorno che ricorderai. Alzati in fretta e vai, c'è chi credente non ti arrendere. Once in every life there comes a time we walk out all alone and into the night. The moment won't last, but then we remember. I sogni tuoi, le tue speranze poi, verso il giorno che verrà, c'è un traguardo là. Like stars across the sky.
believe me, just watch. Don't 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 believe me, just watch. Hey, 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 oh! See, I leave with every piece of you. Never underestimate the things that I will do. There's a fire
Thank you for sharing that. There's so many pictures in there that could be like postcards. They're just like so perfect. You know, sitting there on the patio in Italy or something. I think there's one there, and then the sunset one, or the one where she's holding the sunflowers, or it's just, man, so picturesque and perfect. Thank you for sharing this day with us and this woman with all here. You know, as we come to a close, I encourage you to, I trust there's something for you, a memory or a visual of her smile or her hair, or maybe a time when she was handing you a plate, or what it might be, something that stands out for you that you'll keep close to your heart. And because I always like to have a little bit of crowd participation, I'll just kind of wrap up here with asking you as well, like, what's the first word that comes to mind when you think of Rosemary? Just yell it out from where you are.
Inspirational.
Inspirational. Thank you. Sorry?
Joy.
Joy. Thank you.
Smiling.
Smiling. Warm.
Free.
Free.
Fiery.
Fiery.
Stupendous.
Stupendous. Wow. Thank you. You know, for kids to hear, and I know that they already know, and a husband, I know they know, but for them to hear that these are the ways that you'll remember her, it goes a long way, and I know it hits their heart in a good way. So thank you for sharing those words. So what will it be for you? What will you hold on to? I encourage you to find that and to cherish it. As I mentioned, these memories are what we have. And it's important that if we take any lesson, you know, from this particular experience, it's to live our best life, you know, and to create as many memories as possible. It's to take 3,000 pictures. It's to be stupendous and to have joy and to be an inspiration. You know, I was going to read a piece of the book, but I think I'll let that go. But I often find myself, you know, I'll pick up a book and just flip to a page. And I did that in the lobby earlier, and the page I flipped to talked about when she was a little girl and you know, having to go to school and the bombs and the this and the that. And I was like, man, you know, what this woman persevered through. And she talked specifically about the traumas she experienced as a little girl, about laying in bed and being scared or wondering, is the bomb going to land on my house, and all this stuff, all this trauma. And, you know, there are people today that we've all experienced some trauma, but this is an example of continuing to understand that there's still beauty. And I can still be grateful, and I can still have a beautiful life, and I can still create memories and write a book and cook food and share my life with people. Let's take that as we leave here today. And thank you. Thank you, Rose, for being an example of what a good life is. A loving husband, children, food, friendship. She loved getting together with her girlfriends and just having some tea and laughing and smiling. Just a beautiful spirit. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. So folks, as we come to a close, just a few quick announcements. We want to, of course, thank each and every one of you for being here. I know there's probably a whole lot more people that would like to be here, but your presence is we're grateful for that, so thank you. The various condolences that have been offered and gestures of kindness, and I want to echo what Alan said, that no more flowers, you know. Feed the children. Maybe take a box to the food bank, something in memory of her. That's what she would want. That's what she would appreciate. So we encourage you to do that. We want to thank the staff here at Bowl Chapel. I think it was Bruce that had some help with this family, or provided this family the support. Deirdre and Norman, and also want to acknowledge Erica. Erica will be escorting Mom away from us here today, so thank you, Erica, for what you're doing. But the funeral team, we want to thank you for the work you do and stepping up for this family. It's August 25th that Rosemary will be laid to rest in an intimate family gathering in the traditional Catholic faith, a committal of her body back to the earth. She was a gift to us, and we have to return that gift. So that will take place on August 25th. We want to have a ceremonious exit, so I'm just going to explain how that will happen, and then we'll get set up for that. I'm going to head over to the front here in a moment and invite the pallbearers to get positioned. We wanted to give you an opportunity, and it may not be for everyone, but we're going to open the casket for those that want to pay their respects. You're welcome to come forward and offer just a gesture or a silent prayer and meditation, whatever it is for you that you need. I encourage you to come forward and do that, and if you're uncomfortable with that, please just make your way out to the front, and I'm going to greet you there because we're going to have a bit of a ceremony there for her exit and for a farewell. So in a moment, I'll come forward and get the pallbearers sorted. Deirdre will start the music for our file-by ceremony. You'll see a rose at the end of your aisle. We want everyone to have one when they go outside. Right before we close the door, Alan will close the door, and we're going to invite you to come and just place a rose with her as a gesture of love, of your love, to be with her, stay with her. They will then compile those roses and actually place them in the casket with her before the burial. She will have those gestures with her. So we're going to do that at this time. If she could be here to kind of wrap things up and say anything, it would probably just simply be Lalu. Thank you so much for being here. My thoughts are with you all. You'll just come forward, pay your respects, and then you'll make your way outside. Thank respects you can, and then you'll take position here as we set up earlier. And then when you gentlemen and are ready, you can also do the same and then take position, and we'll let Dad have that moment, okay? I'm gonna help the folks outside. A little slower. Yeah, you can wait here now. Just wait here for a moment. We'll have you come from the back, if you would, one by one, to just place your rose as a final gesture. Thank you so much.
That's all I do. And if you saw my love, you'd never do. I love her. She gives me everything and tenderly. The kiss my love brings, she brings to me, and I love her. I love like her, you'll never die, as long as I have you near me. Bright are the stars that shine, dark is the sky. I know it's not a crime, we'll never die, and I love her. Bright are the stars that shine, dark is the sky. I know it's not a lie, we'll never die, and I love her.
Family and friends, this does officially conclude our services here today. Just as a final farewell, I'm going to invite you to repeat the following words after me, and then Rosemary will be on her way. So if you could repeat after me. There may always be a heartache.
There may always be a heartache.
And often a silent tear.
And often a silent tear.
But forever precious memories
But forever precious memories
of the days when Rose was here.
of the days when Rose was here.
I'll hold her close within my heart,
I'll hold her close within my heart.
and there she shall remain,
And there she shall remain.
to walk with me throughout my life,
To walk with me throughout my life.
until we meet again.
Until we meet again.
That's all I do. And if you saw my love, you'd never do. I love her. She gives me everything and tenderly. The kiss my love brings, she brings to me, and I let her.
Thank you again, folks. I believe that there is a small keepsake takeaway that Teresa has prepared for each of you, so please make sure you receive that before you go. And again, our hearts are with each and every one of you. Thanks so much. So we just would like to ask everyone to clean up the rose petals, and then we can. We'll take care of
Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright.